It all comes down to this: four teams, only two spots left for the trip to the Super Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Breaking and Entering podcast. He's Ed. I'm Brandon. Ready for the weekend, man?
Yes, I certainly am. Waiting for these games to get started, man. I think there are going to be some good ones.
Same
Before
here.
we get started, though, this episode is brought to you by Premium, a CBD health and wellness company. Check out their line of CBD infused products, which are perfect after workout refuel for athletes, a pain reliever for weekend warriors, and even a natural sports drink for us armchair quarterbacks. Their featured product is CBD infused honey, which is a personal favorite of mine, as well as tinctures and mint and natural flavors. They are veteran, women, and minority, so come get some of this sweet imitation and taste the premium difference. Use code BNE for 15% off your order. Their website is www.premium.com. That's PREHEMIUM.com. Again, that's PREHEMIUM.com. Now let's get back to our show, starting with the opening drive. Patriots have hired Bill O'Brien as their offensive coordinator. The Jets have hired Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator. And the Panthers have hired Frank Reich as a head coach. He was recently fired mid-season by the Colts, so I'm sure that's going to outrage a few folks on the media. 49ers defensive lineman Charles Omenihu will play Sunday following being arrested this week for a misdemeanor domestic violence charge. He's a pretty big part of their lineup, so I know they're happy to see he'll be playing. But hopefully he can get this issue that he's gone through worked out. Prayers to all the victims and everybody involved with that situation with him as well.
Yeah. Two things. Frank Wright with the Panthers. The quarterback woes will continue with Carolina because we all know it didn't work out in Indianapolis with quarterbacks there. And I want to get your quick thoughts on Nathaniel Hackett, as you call him, going
That's
there
his
with
name.
Zach Wilson and company. How do you think that'll go?
Honestly, I don't know if Zach Wilson be back next year as a starting QB. I think there'll be some QB competition. So if he wins the job, then good for him. But I'm not sure if Zach Wilson will be the starter going into next season. As far as Hackett being the OC, I think that's what he's best at. It's clear that he was in over his head when he got promoted to head coach for the Broncos. So going back down to just being an offensive coordinator, maybe doing a play call as well would be good for him. He's got some weapons out there. Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall. Hopefully he'll be back early in the season. Elijah Moore, a lot of those guys. So like you said, quarterback is definitely a question mark, but I think him being an OC should be all right for them. What about you?
Yeah, if it doesn't work for him with the targets out there, it's definitely saying something about him. A lot of people forgot the fact that he didn't call plays in Green Bay. It was Matt LaFleur out there. And of course, Aaron Rodgers doing his own thing. He was just the coordinator, quarterbacks coach combined, I believe. So when he got out to Denver, I think he started calling plays. And then, it was a situation where they were losing so bad. And he did that panic mode coach thing where he gave the play calling duties to someone else and just continued to be bad until he got fired, basically. So yeah, if it doesn't work out here, it'll definitely say something about him for sure. I don't see it working out just because of the quarterback situation, unless Mike White is a starter or they get somebody else in there through free agency or draft. Wilson's not the answer, in my opinion, as we could probably all agree on that. So yeah, good luck to them, though. I mean, guess that's the guy they wanted. So it's not like they really lost out on anybody except for Billy O'Brien. He's the only one that really signed on at this point that they could say they lost on. So it seemed like they kind of moved fast on it. So I guess that was the guy they wanted. So
I'm sure what you call him, Mac and Cheese, your boy Mac Jones, the quarterback for the Patriots. I'm sure he's happy to see Bill O'Brien as OC and Joe Judge and Matt Patricia won't be the ones he's dealing with this one, because I know he's been frustrated with those guys. I think he got in an argument with Joe Judge about the play call and everything. So sure, he's happy to hear Bill O'Brien is coming on. See if they can make the offense better for the Patriots.
Yep. They do have a little bit of familiarity, those two. Of course, he was at Alabama with him when Mac Jones was there. And of course, Billy O'Brien was in New England years ago, so we'll see how that goes. I think
Yeah.
it'll be a little bit of a help for him as far as from year 2 to 3, because I was one on the fact that when Josh McDaniels left, I thought he was going to have a regress because he had to learn probably a little bit of a new offense, at least probably some new terminology and everything. Going from year 1 to 2, it's never really good to change coordinators in a situation like that. So he was one of the quarterbacks in that draft that saw a drop from 1 to 2. So we'll see how it goes for them there in Foxborough.
Yep.
All right, turning our attention to the main event, NFC Championship features an NFC East team, everyone. They're at the Link. It's a Philly thing. That's their playoff slogan there. The San Francisco 49ers will be flying to the East Coast this weekend to take on the Eagles. 14-3 regular season record for Philly, 13-4 for the Niners. ESPN has the Eagles 65% chance of winning this game. I think it'll certainly be a tall task for the 49ers to go there and win. Talent-wise, I think these teams are pretty evenly matched when you talk about big names. But San Fran, they faced their toughest defense of the season last week against Dallas with Purdy as a starter, of course. He played good, but, he got a lot of help from his playmakers. But Philly is different, everyone. We all know that. I think the main thing is that Philly's offense can score consistently. Defense led the way with 70 sacks during the regular season. They added 5 more against New York in the divisional round. San Fran's defense coming ranked number 1 and tops in turnovers during the entire season. Philly's defense number 2, again, led the league in sacks. I think my X factor for this game is Hufanga. If they can blitz him, which he did in a couple plays on Sunday, and he can already cover, I think that'll go a long way for San Francisco, playing like his cousin, I believe, is Troy Polamalu, you mentioned last week or before. I believe it'll come down to the quarterback, though. I think that I trust Jalen just a little bit more than Brock Purdy as of now.
Just a little bit.
Well, probably a lot, but we'll have to see after Sunday who, will I trust him more. But I'm gonna go with Philly as of now. I think the crowd will be a factor again. And that traveling across the country typically doesn't go well, even though this 49ers team is on a roll. How do you feel about this contest?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Eagles should be the guys who win this matchup. That Eagles defense, they got some playmakers out there, and they can, like you said, score the ball too. I think whoever can run the ball more effective will do the job. I know San Fran has the name guys, Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, but Miles Sanders, he's probably had his best year so far. I think he got named to his first Pro Bowl as well. And look at last week, Kenneth Gainwell, they involved him. I mean, he had 12 rushes over 100 yards last week. So I can see them being a potent 1-2 punch at the running back position. And then you got Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate, even with the games missed. And he's pretty good as a dual threat quarterback as well. So I agree with you. I think the Eagles will win this game. Brock Purdy, he has got another chance or another test against him with this really good Eagles defense. And I think it's going to be a little hard to run the ball like it was last week. So he's definitely going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. And I think he'll make a couple of mistakes. I think the Eagles will force him into some mistakes. I think the Eagles will get pressure on him and force him to throw the ball before he wants to, make him panic out there, pressure him a lot. And thinking he'll throw a turnover, throw an interception, maybe get fumbled, but we'll see how it goes with that one. But I definitely have the Eagles winning for sure in this one.
All right, we're going to break down some of the key positions, battles on both sides of the field for this game, starting with the quarterback. Again, I like both of these guys, especially the way Purdy's been playing. We all know Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft, third string quarterback coming in is on this win streak. Been silencing critics since he took over for Jimmy G, but Jalen has more experience and uses his legs a bit more. He hasn't had a lot of turnovers this year as well. Jalen Hurts. So I'm going to give the advantage to Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts and those guys. Plus if you want to go the whole quarterback room, you have can't think of the backup there. Thank you, Gardner Minshew. So yeah, I got the advantage going to Philadelphia. What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I think Jalen Hurts is better at this point than Brock Purdy, who's, like I said, been looking like the second coming goddamn Joe Montana, Steve Young, John Elway, all those guys. But I think right now, Jalen Hurts, the better quarterback, more experience, has a good arm, accurate, will run when he needs to. So I got Jalen as the favorite quarterback in this one.
All right, turning our attention to the backfields. I'm going to go with San Fran here. Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. Of course, Christian McCaffrey, he's pretty much a one-man wrecking crew in the words of Boomer from Chris Berman of ESPN. But I got to respect that Eagles backfield, as you mentioned before. Sanders, Gainwell, and the guy I didn't even know was still on the roster until last week was Boston Scott. These guys can certainly run the ball there in Philadelphia. I've always been big on their 200 yards per game stat that they've pretty much done over the last couple of years. So yeah, who do you give the advantage to in the backfield?
I give it to the Niners as well. Like you said, McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell. McCaffrey is a dual threat. He can run it and catch it out of backfield. Really good route runner. And Elijah Mitchell, he has that breakaway speed, man. He can get up to like 20, 21 miles per hour if he gets in the open field. Kind of same with McCaffrey. And I think the Niners, they run the ball a little bit better. You know, Kyle Shanahan always has those exotic run plays caught up. Even they'll put Debo Samuel in the backfield as well. I can label him as a running back because he
Yeah,
definitely runs and brings the pain to people. So I'm gonna give the advantage to the Niners running backs. But like you said, those Eagles running backs aren't any slouches as well. But I'm gonna give the slight edge to the 49ers.
got you. Turning our attention to the guys that catch the passes out there. I'm going to go with San Fran. You got Big Debo Samuels in your words. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Of course, you had that big circus catch on Sunday. I know AJ Brown transformed that offense. Got to respect Dallas Goddard out there as well, and some of the other guys. But I think these guys out there been together a little bit longer and have made plays consistently as well. What about you in the pass catcher department?
I'm on a fence on this one, man. I really like Devontae Smith of the Eagles. Like you
Mhm.
said, AJ Brown has done really good things for the offense, and Dallas Goddard is definitely not a slouch. Um, but you know, George Kittle, Big Debo Samuel, like you said, and Brandon Ayuk, those guys are pretty good. But right now, I mean, honestly, it's a toss up for me. But I'm gonna side with the Eagles on pass catchers on this one. I really think they have two number ones out there. Devontae Smith is a really capable wide receiver,
Yep.
and AJ Brown is explosive. He can take a slant to the house. But you know, the Niners, they got some good guys. Brandon Ayuk is really good, and Debo Samuel, he can take a slant to the house as well. And George Kittle is just great. But for some reason, I'm just liking AJ Brown, the Devontae Smith, Dallas Goddard, the rest of those guys a little bit more than Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, George Kittle, and those guys. So I'm gonna go to Eagles with this one, just by a hair though.
Got you. They say defense wins championships. I'm going to go with the number one ranked defense in the NFL with San Francisco has the edge, in my opinion. We all know the names Warner, Jimmy and Charvarius Ward, Greenlaw, Armstead, Bosa, probably the defensive player of the year and the rising star in Hufanga. Um, Philly's defense is probably the best it's been in years, honestly. But I mean, these guys out there, I love the number one ranked defense in the NFL every year, no matter who they are. And these guys have certainly caught my attention the entirety of the year. What about yourself? Defense advantage.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you. I think the Niners give them a slight edge. They got a couple of all pros, first team all pros out there, like you said, Warner and Bosa. But this is gonna be a really good matchup. Because off the Eagles, they got some guys out there too, you know, Hassan Reddick, Darius Slay, and James Bradbury, nothing to sleep on out there. They got Brandon Graham, Fletcher Clock Cox, excuse me, Josh Sweat. They got a bunch of names, but it's a tough one, man. It's a toss up for me on this one too, but I'm leaning more towards the Niners. I'm trying to remember the guy the Eagles picked up from the who was it? The Robert Quinn. Yeah, they got him as well. So
Oh man, I forgot about him.
yeah, Eagles, they definitely got a squad on defense, but I like the Niners just a little bit more. They can get after the quarterback. Nick Bosa is probably the best, if not top three, edge rushers in the league right now, in my opinion. And like you said, second coming of freaking Troy Polamalu out there. I think that he had a play last week. He looked like Troy Polamalu, where he timed the snap count, and basically
Yep.
jumped right over the line to get to Dak Prescott. So right now I'm leaning a little bit more towards the Niners, but that defense or the Eagles is like this close.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna give the Niners a slight edge. D'Amico Ryans and those guys. I'll give the Niners a slight edge in that crew.
Yeah, and the one quick thing that kind of scares me about the Eagles defense is a lot of new names on there. And even though they've been playing awesome all year, you usually get that one game where it's like you could tell that they're a new unit in a sense. You talk about Gardner Johnson coming over, Ndamukong Suh, Quinn, you mentioned, Linval Joseph, I believe, is there now. So all these guys, it's like that does scare me just a tad, as opposed to San Fran's defense that has been together for a number of years for the most part.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't happen, but have seen it happen before. All right.
Yeah, and that Eagles defense, sorry, real quick.
No,
That
you're fine.
Eagles defense, they were able to people were able to run the ball on them.
Mhm.
They had that great rookie pickup, Jordan Davis, who kind of
Yeah.
solidified that D line. But once he got hurt, they had to bring some guys in like Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. But so I think that's why I give the edge to the Niners right now. I think the Eagles defense, they might be able to get the ball around them a little bit, but we'll see.
Yep. All right. Now to the guys on the sidelines, the coaches. I'm going to go with San Fran again, Kyle Shanahan. It just runs in the family, offensive ace. We all know about his father, former Commanders head coach. And then he has D'Amico Ryans is calling the plays on defense, handling everything on that side of the ball. I'm going to go with San Francisco. I think they have some good up and coming coaches there in Philadelphia on the offensive defensive coordinators. I believe some of those guys are getting interviews over the last couple of weeks for head coaching positions, but I just think this staff in Santa Clara is just a tad bit better.
Yeah, I like the Niners coaching staff as well. I think they just got a little bit more experience going deep into the playoffs. You know, Kyle Shanahan and those guys have been in either the conference championship or the Super Bowl like a lot in recent these last couple years. So I'm gonna give the slight edge to those guys, even though Sirianni, he's like a candidate for coach of the year, I believe. But I like Shanahan, D'Amico Ryans, and the rest of those guys as well. So I'm gonna give the slight edge to the Niners coaching staff.
Got you. Now to the late game on Sunday, Bengals and Chiefs. Bengals 12-4 in the regular season, Chiefs 14-3. Kansas City is 7-1 at home. It is a 6:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff there from Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. Obvious rematch of the AFC Championship game. We all know Cincinnati shut down Mahomes and company during the second half of that game. They won and represented the American Football Conference in the Super Bowl. I told the guys in my picks league right after that game that Mahomes is going to win MVP. It's kind of looked like it's going to happen again, and he's going to come out with a vengeance as well. Excuse me. We'll have to wait until February 9th, of course, to see if that MVP prediction comes true, but we'll find out on Sunday who will advance to the Super Bowl and if Kansas City has made the adjustments to beat Cincinnati. Jerick McKinnon, he kind of had a quiet week last week, held without a catch. I think he had scored a passing touchdown in a certain amount of straight games heading into last weekend, and he was kind of held out of the end zone last week. So we'll see if he'll get back in the end zone on the receiving end of things this coming week. But I'll bet you that Mahomes will have some tricks up his sleeves for sure. He's probably been watching film all week, everyone, literally while he's in bed, while he's eating, everywhere. We all know he hates losing like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady when they used to lose. And obviously Joe Burrow's 3-0 against him. So that's probably itching him right now. Frank Clark and Chris Jones, I think they need a dominant performance And the secondary will need to tighten up a bit as well. We saw a few blown coverages last week. You had the Christian Kirk touchdown where the linebacker was on him and a couple other big plays as well for Jacksonville against that Kansas City defense. As for Cincinnati, they've been firing on all cylinders. Didn't see that coming last week where they kind of dominated Buffalo in their house, even with the fact that they were banged up on the offensive line. The only thing that kind of concerns me for Cincinnati is their defense and maybe the kicker, Evan McPherson. He missed the kick in the wild card round, but he rebounded last week and was perfect out there. I think he was 2 for 2 field goals and 3 for 3 extra points. But if I had to choose now, I'd go with Cincinnati. I think they're the better team all around. They, of course, have the momentum heading into this game. Again, Joe Burrow's 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes. But it's definitely not my final answer. I'm still kind of deciding, but I'm going to give the edge to Cincinnati. What do you have on this game? What do you see happening?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the Bengals will get it done. I think Joe Burrow is going to be 4-0 against Mahomes. I think that ankle injury is going to play major part of Mahomes and his ability to run the ball. I think he'll be more in the pocket. I don't think he'll be able to run as much. We'll see. But right now, I'm leaning towards the Bengals. It seems like last week, that O-line and D-line, they both dominate the ball. And I feel like last year, that defense, they kind of clicked and got things together as the year ended. And it seems like they're on that same page this time. Mike Hilton, his name has been brought up a lot for the Bengals secondary. I think he might make a few plays out there. They got Von Bell in the secondary as well. But that D-line, I think, they're going to have to get after Mahomes a lot, try to force him out the pocket, just get some sacks since he won't be as mobile, in my opinion.
Yep.
So guys like Hendrickson, I think he'll have a good game. But that Chiefs offensive line, they got some guys that were all pros, first and second team, I believe. Joe Tooney as one of them.
Yeah.
But I just think that ankle injury is going to limit Mahomes, and he won't be able to pull off the magic that he normally does out there. So I'm leaning towards the Bengals in this one. I think Joe Burrow, Joe Cool will get it done.
Yeah, what are they calling it? Burrowhead now.
Yeah, I heard that. I saw that. Yep.
Yeah,
it might be.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if he puts the icing on the cake this Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. I know
all
you're
right.
gonna be looking forward to it.
Yeah. So I don't know who to root for in this, to necessarily root for. It's like I don't want to see the team and another team in my division make the Super Bowl, and then I don't want to see Kansas City go. So I'm like, oh, I'm just stuck. I guess I'd more so root for Kansas City if that's the case. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't want to see. I don't want this whole. I respect Joe Burrow and all, great guy, and that offense is amazing. But I really don't want to see them win a Super Bowl and or start a dynasty, as people would say, after one good year. And well, not necessarily one good year, but one Super Bowl win like they did with Kansas City. And we have to hear that talk for the next 24 months.
I got you, because I know you we talk off air. I know you sick of seeing Mahomes, 5 straight conference championships appearances and got that one Super Bowl a few years back. So I know you're tired of him. Okay, I got you.
But I think that either team out of the NFC can beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl. I really do. Even though San Fran lost to him a couple years ago, I think that defense is, that's kind of reminds, both of those defenses kind of remind you of that Tampa Bay defense that beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They can get after the quarterback and all that stuff. I think if it was Cincinnati versus either team, that would be a little bit different discussion. But yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. Position breakdowns. We're going to start with the quarterback. We're going to go, Ed will be first. Quarterback, who do you give the edge to, whether it's Cincinnati or Kansas City?
I really can't give an edge to anyone. If I had to give an edge based on just this week, I'm going to give it to Burrow just because he's a little bit more healthier. But if Mahomes is 100% healthy, I couldn't give anybody an edge. I think they equal each other out, honestly. Both those guys got good arms. They're both really good when they run. Even though Mahomes doesn't look like he's fast, it doesn't seem like people are catching him from behind too often. And when I say that, I mean like defensive linemen and stuff like that. So right now, just based off this week and this game, I'm going to give the edge to Burrow just because Mahomes' ankle injury. I don't know how much that's going to affect him. What about you?
Yeah, close one here. I agree. I'm going to go with Kansas City and Mahomes just because I've seen him do it a little bit longer. Um, I know the ankle is going to play a factor into it, but Mahomes is a magician. I mean, he's won an MVP, he's won a Super Bowl MVP, damn near played on one leg last week in the second half. Burrow's a bad man. Again, very close. No shade at all to him. He certainly can get it done. I know for sure that because they play in our division, he's lit our defense up several times. So yeah, I'm slight edge to Mahomes just because he's done it a little bit longer. How about the backfield? Which team do you give the advantage to here?
I like the Bengals backfield. Joe Mixon is a feature back, and then Samaje Perine. Those games Joe Mixon was out. Check his numbers. See if he would have played all season playing like that, that motherfucker might have got the damn Offensive Player of the Year award or MVP. Excuse my language, but yeah, he definitely made a name for himself when Joe Mixon was out. So I'm gonna get the edge to Joe Mixon and crew. I don't know if Clyde Edwards-Helaire, CEH, is gonna play. He's been banged up. Pacheco has been coming on as strong lately, and Jared McKinnon as well. But I like Mixon and Perine a little bit more than I like Pacheco and CEH and McKinnon and those guys. So Bengals. What about you?
I agree. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I think they also run the ball just a tad bit more than since Kansas City does. Mixon and Perine, as you mentioned, Perine has really been coming on into the year as well. So yeah, they don't run the ball like they used to either, but they're definitely able to in Cincinnati. I'll go with the Bengals backfield. Pass catchers, guys out wide. Who do you got, Cincinnati or Kansas City?
I have Cincinnati. Kansas City probably has the best tight end out the group, but Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Hayden Hurst ain't no slouch at tight end. I like those guys a little bit more than I like Travis Kelce and crew, MVS, Juju Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney. Hopefully he's healthy because he's pretty electric, and so is McCole Hartman too. But both of those guys are banged up, so I don't even know if they're going to play. So right now, I'm giving the edge to the Bengals, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and those guys. What about you?
Yeah, another thing I can attest to is Cincinnati. No question here. These
No
guys have lit up
question.
my defense yeah, for years. I got in my notes right now. Tyler Boyd, the Raven killer. He sent the Buffalo Bills to the playoffs for the first time in years back when they played us, I think 2017, week 17 in Baltimore. Yeah, it was cold that day. All right. T. Higgins, he's also lit us up before, but I don't have him as a Raven killer. You know, he does his thing, but he's
Yeah,
not as much as other ones. Jamar Chase, the Raven Killer 2.0. Okay.
man.
2.0 because he's newer. So Boyd has been doing it longer and Chase is younger. So he's 2.0. And then former Raven, Hayden Hurst, as you mentioned, he's really been coming on this season. What a great all-season pickup for Cincinnati, getting him from the Falcons during the offseason. Kansas City, Kelsey does Kelsey things. We all know that, but he's outnumbered. These guys in Cincinnati are no joke out wide. Turning our attention to the defensive side of the ball, everyone, who do you give the edge here, if any?
I give the edge to the Bengals. I think the Kansas City defensive line is a little better, but the Bengals secondary, I give the edge to, like I mentioned earlier, Von Bell, Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton, he's only like 5'10", 5'9", 185 pounds, but he be lighting folks up. He might be the best tackler on their team. Eli Apple, mentioning your name. I know you get a lot of flack, a lot of people. Shady McCoy, I don't know if you saw, he went crazy on him the other day. I think Sauce Gardner compared him to Patrick Beverly or somebody, and Shady McCoy, he was on the I Am Athlete radio show and podcast. He broke it down as like, Eli Apple, he don't got no all pros. He been in the league for 7 years, been on 4 different teams. He was number 10 pick when he was drafted, and he was released, or his team let him go in his second year. I was like, damn, Shady, say how you really feel about the guy. But back to the discussion though, I give the edge slightly to the Bengals defense. I still got some questions about that secondary for the Chiefs. Like you said, they gave up some plays last week, but the Jaguars weren't able to capitalize as much. Joe Burrow and company, I think, definitely will capitalize on that. And then if you remember last year, that defense, they started playing in coverages that confused Patrick Mahomes. I know he said he choked in that game, but I think the defense and the coverages they were playing had an effect on him. I think it will have that same type of effect on him. especially since he won't be as mobile, in my opinion. So right now, I'm giving the edge to the Bengals defense. How
Yeah,
about you?
I'm gonna go with Kansas City here. A couple guys come to mind with me, Frank Clark, Carlos Dunlap, and the secondary. Yeah, they're not as strong as Cincinnati's, but Justin Reed, I mean, he's versatile, and Trent McDuffie, the rookie out there, the first rounder, um, doing his thing. Plus L'Jarius Sneed, and then Chris Jones to me just takes the cake. I mean, this guy is just a dominant force if he gets going. He had a decent game last week as well, and he can really change a game if he gets fired up. So yeah, I give the defensive edge to the Kansas City Chiefs in this one. All right,
Gotcha.
to the coaches, we have Andy Reid and company, and of course, I'm getting a brain freeze on the
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor. Thank you. With the Bengals, who which of those coaching staffs do you prefer more or have the edge going to?
I give it to the Chiefs. Andy Reid's been at it since I've been in high school, even longer than that. So
Yeah,
I think his experience got guys out there. Eric Bieniemy is always a constant head coaching candidate. So I like Zach Taylor and his staff, but I just think more experience, Andy Reid. So yeah, I'm giving it to the Chiefs for their coaching staffs. What about you?
yeah. Very good coaching staff there in Cincinnati. You mentioned Zach Taylor again, and the offensive coordinator. He was one of my guys that I thought is a coaching candidate. I'm not sure that he's got any interviews, but he's not. I don't think he calls the plays, but the offense has been very good under his regime there. But I'm going to go with Kansas City as well. Andy Reid, veteran coach. Eric Bieniemy, a coaching candidate for several years. Steve Spagnuolo on the defensive side of the ball. Hasn't been the same. That Kansas City defense hasn't been the same since the Super Bowl, but they're very experienced. And he's a former Giants coach, so he's always near and dear to my heart. So yeah, Kansas City. And then I mean, does can we even talk about the ring around the rosy play? I mean, these guys just come up with more stuff on offense for Kansas City. It's like before you think that you got them figured out, and then they come out with something like that. And they're the ones that probably really bought into tight end quarterback sneak in a sense. Move Kelsey into motion, have him go to one side, come back, and then take the snap, and he running straight up the middle of your defense. So, I mean, it's so much different stuff that they do, and other teams may do it sometimes here and there, but they do it better than anybody else, in my opinion.
And he was talking about the Brian Callahan. Is that who you're talking about? Is the
Yeah,
OC for the
Callahan.
Bengals?
Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't want to
gotcha.
get his name wrong. I thought that was him.
Yeah.
Got you.
And before we go, I was still I talked to you about this before, but I was really shocked that y'all let Hayden Hurst go. I know he went to Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
not
Same
straight to the
here.
Bengals, but I was shocked by that. But it does seem like y'all can pick some tight ends pretty good. Isaiah Likely, I think he'll be pretty nice going forward. But I was
Yeah.
shocked y'all let Hayden Hurst go.
And the
Ravens,
thing
I
is,
mean.
like, he wasn't doing much in Atlanta. So it's kind of like one of those situations where we let him go and, we benefited from it. And then now all of a sudden he's just coming on recently. I'm
Yeah.
saying that this back part of this year is yet another target for them out there.
Hmm.
And he'll probably be back as well. I don't know what the Boys and Higgins contract look like. I know Chase will be around for another 2 to 3 years at the minimum, obviously, because of his contract. But yeah, they'll probably re-sign Hurst, give him a middle grade contract. I mean, he's worthy of, especially last couple of games, worthy of a big contract. I don't know what they'll pay him or when his contract is up either. Actually, I think his contract might be up this year too, because he came in the league same year as Lamar.
Mm.
2 first rounders that year. He was the top pick, and then Lamar was traded back in to get. So yeah, I definitely was the same way. I was surprised that they let him go. Again, like you said, we tend to develop tight ends very well, but it's kind of coming back to haunt us now because he did have a touchdown catch against us in one of the regular season games. I
Yeah.
think he might have got one in the playoffs too, but
Yeah, he did.
yeah, of course. All right, that's it. I think the dominoes are going to start falling for them coaches too. It's usually that
Yeah,
first one, and then they'd all just start panicking. So that's something we got to watch. Probably won't be anything tomorrow, the next couple days, but probably early next week. I would imagine they're gonna a couple of these teams gonna start hiring before the Super Bowl week
yeah. Well, we'll
for
keep you
sure.
guys updated, listeners and viewers. Let you know what's going
Most
on in
definitely.
coaching.
Falls, yeah, on Twitter and everything, and when we're back on the air.
Yeah,
All right, everyone. Two teams will advance, and two teams will have their hopes of a Lombardi Trophy shattered this weekend. Of course, we'll have everything you need to know from a much anticipated weekend on Monday. Until then, excuse me. Uh, enjoy the games and love one another.
peace.
This has been another episode of the B&E Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Podcast B&E.